Hello, good citizens. Welcome back to Documenting and Exposing West Shore RCMP. This is part 19. Now here's a little tidbit that I forgot to put in an earlier video. This is driving by West Shore RCMP in July 2019. And as you can see in the picture here, they're getting a security gate. Perhaps now the West Shore RCMP can keep all their personal information viewable by the public secure with this new security gate. Oh, hey, now, look, now it is a secure area. Anyways, I just wanted to throw that in there. So if you ever want to go take pictures here, there's now a security gate. So good luck taking pictures there now. So it's now November 2019 and I'm back in court because the defendant in my lawsuit, Arun Kundu-Thomsen, has fled the province of British Columbia to evade accountability and has been transferred almost 5,000 kilometers away to the province of Ontario. So he's going to be difficult to serve. So I'm back in court. The details on this are long and boring, so I won't bore you with them. But basically what happened was I made an application to a judge to ask permission for substitutional service on the defendant, Arun Kundu-Thomsen. And I put it before a judge that I could email him, as I have his email address off of his business card. And the judge agreed with me that that would be an appropriate method of service. So the judge ordered that I now have permission to serve Arun Kundu-Thomsen his lawsuit via email, to which I did. Here's the context of that email. Hello, Mr. Kundu-Thomsen. Thank you for accepting service. Since you are out of province, you have 30 days to reply to the Western Communities Court Registry. If you fail to reply, I'll have a default order issued against you. Please refrain from causing and continuing more unnecessary delays in this matter. Looking forward to hearing from you, Dan. To which he had a lawyer respond shortly after on December 20th, 2019. This is also very long and can be boring at times, but I'm going to go through some of this right now. Not all of it. I know it's hard to read on the screen. Pause it if you want to read the whole thing, or put it on your TV or something. I don't know. But this is Arun Kundu-Thomsen's, as well as the Attorney General of Canada. This is the response to my allegation of false arrest. Just false arrest. Nothing else. Just false arrest. And their lawyer is, for the Attorney General of Canada, Adrian Copythorne. And I've chosen to actually use the May 28th, 2020 revised version of the reply as opposed to the original. So here in their summary of facts, they're basically saying that, on July 25th, 2018, I attended the West Shore RCMP detachment and I left the following note, which read the following. If you want to read it, you can pause it. So here is Corporal Kundu-Thomsen's and the Attorney General of Canada's response to my false arrest lawsuit. So to summarize paragraph 4, he basically says that an unidentified male was video recording the secure back parking lot of the detachment, and the detachment staff were concerned for their safety as there had been previous incidents of individuals behaving in an aggressive manner in the secured area behind the detachment where many parked their personal cars. Hey, if it's a secured area, how do all these aggressive acting people get inside of it, I wonder? And a summary of paragraph 5 is Corporal Kundu-Thomsen observed the claimant wearing a high visibility vest and with a camera on a tripod pointed down the sidewalk running along the side of the secured parking area. The claimant also wore a GoPro camera on his chest, a camera unit on his head, a video camera in one hand and a cell phone in the other, all pointing at the secure parking area. If you look back in the video, go look where they were all pointed at. Some of those devices he describes weren't even being used. And finally, just to summarize paragraph 5, he says, the entrance to the lot had a sign stating, quote, RCMP authorized personnel only, unquote, indicating it was a secured or restricted area. The claimant and Mr. Bruce were standing next to the sign. Now, I was standing quite close to the sign, not next to it, but quite close. But Mr. Bruce was standing about, 50 feet away. So that's not true at all. Paragraph 6 is very interesting. Corporal Kundu-Thomsen approached the claimant and asked him why he was filming a government building, specifically the secure parking area of a police station. The claimant replied that he had given notice to the office by way of a note and was within his rights to do so. That's funny, because if you watch the video, it's uncut. I never said anything about having the rights to do so or the note giving me the rights to do so. I never even mentioned any of that. Where is he getting this from? Corporal Kundu-Thomsen explained to the claimant that he was obliged to ask for his identity, as he would have to fill out a security incident report describing the filming due to the current heightened awareness of security of government buildings. Corporal Kundu-Thomsen reviewed the note and advised the claimant that he did not object to the filming, but would need to know his identity. He explained that there were security issues arising from filming the parking lot where individuals parked their personal vehicles. Corporal Kundu-Thomsen asked the claimant for his name and identification several times, but the claimant stated he could not, because he could not trust the police to not misuse his personal information, citing a previous incident. Corporal Kundu-Thomsen advised the claimant that he faced charges of mischief and obstruction if he refused to identify himself, and that he had concerns that the claimant was filming the detachment for criminal purposes, particularly in light of current threats to government agencies. The claimant asked if he was under arrest. Corporal Kundu-Thomsen told the claimant he was not, but he was now being investigated for mischief, since his actions were suspicious. Now I'm going to stop right there. And if you've ever watched the video of me getting arrested, it's uncut, and he not once in that entire video says the word suspicious. Yeah, whoops. Let's continue. Corporal Kundu-Thomsen warned the claimant that if he did not identify himself, he would be arrested for obstruction. Corporal Kundu-Thomsen asked the claimant to again identify himself. The claimant refused, and Corporal Kundu-Thomsen advised that he was under arrest for mischief and obstruction. That's not true either. If you watch the video, I'm under arrest for obstruction. He never says mischief. He says I'm under investigation for public mischief, and causing a disturbance. Then he says I'm under arrest for obstruction. He never said I was under arrest for mischief. I'm going to skip the rest of paragraph 9. Corporal Kundu-Thomsen seized from the claimant one GoPro camera, one digital still camera, and one cell phone, which would not power off without a password. Corporal Kundu-Thomsen approached Mr. Bruce, but did not ask to identify himself. As he was not filming the secure area, actually he was. He actually had two cameras with huge zoom lenses on them, and he was actually filming the secure area, just actually probably a little bit more than I was. Skipping to paragraph 11, in cells, Corporal Kundu-Thomsen advised the claimant that he would be released on a promise to appear before a court, but not until he provided his name. He also informed the claimant that he would be fingerprinted if necessary to ascertain his identity if he had been fingerprinted previously. Which is funny because when he actually asked me all this, when he said all this stuff, I'd already identified myself. And paragraph 12, the claimant eventually identified himself to another officer as Dan. That's hilarious how he says eventually, because as soon as they arrested me and escorted me into the booking area, that's when I verbally gave my full name, my address, and my date of birth, when I only actually had to give my name and date of birth. I didn't even have to give my address. But I gave it anyways, because obviously they're going to drill you for it. So I gave all that, and I said, if you need me to repeat it, just ask me and I'll be glad to do that. And here he is saying, the claimant eventually identified himself. See, now, if I didn't have that recorded, how would you be able to defend yourself against that? Anyways, let's continue on here. Corporal Baden Jones confirmed his identity and notified Corporal Kundu-Thomsen that North Couch and Duncan RCMP were trying to identify the claimant and Mr. Bruce as, I love how they got Bruce Dean's name wrong. They call him Dean Bruce. As they had been digitally surveilling the rear parking lot of that detachment as well. Okay, let's stop right here. Let's review, shall we? And bonus points for anyone that can type out the definition of digital surveillance in the comment section below. So here we have some digital surveillance by Google Satellite. This is the North Cowichan / Duncan RCMP detachment, where they just said that we were doing digital surveillance on their back lot. So you see the red X with the white outline on it? That's where I was standing. And you see the white X with the black outline on it? That's where Dean Bruce was standing. And you see the big yellow square or rectangle in the secure back lot of the RCMP detachment there. This is the back lot that they're claiming we were digitally surveilling by standing there. And you see the big yellow star there with the red outline? That's actually an apartment building. And there's actually, on that side of the building closest to the star, there's actually a bunch of balconies. So really, if you want to do digital surveilling on the North Cowichan Duncan RCMP detachment, just rent an apartment there. So, were Bruce and I there that day to digitally surveil their secure back parking lot? Huh. Well, if we were, we must be the two stupidest people on planet Earth, because standing out in front of the building, near the street, on the sidewalk, that is the worst possible position to digitally surveil their back secure parking lot. Here, look. See this big blue line that I drew on here? Anyone with the intention of doing digital surveillance on their back parking lot needs to be inside of that blue line. And look where we are. Even the apartment building's inside the blue line. Man, are we stupid. So where did Arun Kundu-Thomsen get all this nonsense about us digitally surveilling their secure back parking lot? Well, the Duncan RCMP told them that. Yeah, here's a half-ass wanted poster made by the Duncan RCMP, request to identify. There's yours truly, and there's my good friend Bruce. Bruce proudly displays this one on his Flickr account he got through a records request. And you'll see that Corporal Stephen Merrick says, quote, 2 men were found doing digital surveillance of the RCMP building in Duncan, BC, as well as the vehicles. People coming and going. When challenged, neither would provide an explanation of their actions, unquote. And if you watch that video, you see I give a notice of my intentions at the beginning. And you'll see me explaining to Corporal Stephen Merrick himself in person right in front of me. I explain my intentions to him. He even acknowledges my intentions. When they asked Bruce what his intentions were, he said he was just out taking pictures. So why would Corporal Stephen Merrick of the Duncan RCMP make up this story about when we were challenged, neither of us would provide an explanation to our actions? And why would Corporal Stephen Merrick of the Duncan RCMP make up this story that we were found doing digital surveillance? How can they find... Oh, I guess I gave them the notice, and then we were found. Yeah, that's it. We were found. He's making it out like we were caught. You know, we were hiding in the bushes, and they've found us doing digital surveillance. How can they find us doing digital surveillance? Well, anyways, I guess that would explain why Arun Kundu-Thomsen's making up all this nonsense about us. It's because other police are telling him this nonsense. Good thing we got all that recorded. Or just check Google. Trust me. Look at Street View. This is in the Google car on the property of the RCMP detachment in North Cowichan / Duncan. Look, see the yellow arrow with the red outline? That's the secure area of their back lot that Google's digitally surveilling. See the Google logo at the bottom? Look. Look at this. We're going right through their visitor parking lot. Look, we're filming all the cars in the Google car. We're filming the building. We're filming their cars. We're digitally surveilling. Look, the Google logo. Look, look, look. And even from the street. Look, I zoomed in from the street. Look, that's that back lot that Google is digitally surveilling. You know, the one you can't see from the street, where we were standing. And I found it interesting that Corporal Stephen Merrick just said that we were found doing digital surveillance of the building and cars and people coming and going. But he never said that we were doing digital surveillance of their secure back parking lot. But Arun Kundu-Thomsen did say that we were doing digital surveillance of their secure back parking lot. I just find it so fascinating how Arun Kundu-Thomsen can read this half-ass wanted poster and turn it into something even more nefarious, all fabricated in his little scared little imagination. We went from being found doing digital surveillance of the building to found doing digital surveillance of their back parking lot, a secure area. Thanks, Corporal Stephen Merrick of the Duncan RCMP, for making up a story about us being found digitally surveilling and refusing to provide an explanation to our actions. And thanks, Arun Kundu-Thomsen, for fabricating a BS story about us being found doing digital surveillance of their secure back parking lot. Gee, I wonder if the Attorney General of Canada lawyer, Adrienne Coppathorne, has actually watched any of these videos. Guess we'll find out later. You would think she would verify all these police statements with actual videos that are in possession of the RCMP and readily available to her, right? Anyways, let's get back to paragraph 12. The claimant informed Corporal Kundu-Thomsen that he planned to upload the videos he had taken to YouTube, but would not provide the URL address. Yeah, because it's none of your business. The claimant told Corporal Kundu-Thomsen several times that, quote, one day in the future, you and I are going to have a long conversation about this, unquote. And it's funny, in his actual police statements and report to Crown Counsel, he tells them that this is a threat. And he's really sensationalizing what I'm saying and making it like all scary and stuff. But I actually said something like, it's too bad we can't have a conversation about this. I guess maybe one day we'll have a conversation about it in the future. Or something like that. And he says I said it several times, and I actually only said it once. Paragraph 13. The claimant was released that afternoon on a promise to appear dated October 18th, 2018. A prosecution for mischief was progressed by the Crown, which culminated in a trial in February 2020. And that's not true, actually. The trial was in March 2020. I see a lot of people making comments on this video series saying that the charges are going to be dropped and they're never going to go anywhere, but I've been saying this since day one. This really isn't a spoiler at all. It does go to trial. And that's why I blanked out the next paragraph there, because that's all trial spoilers. So I'm just going to skip the next few paragraphs, pause it if you want to read it, but they're just saying that the police officer himself can't be sued, and any damages, everything was my fault, and the police were acting as, the police, and they're protected, and all that BS. So they deny each and every allegation. And as you can see in paragraph 19, the Attorney General of Canada and Arun Kundu-Thomsen's response, it says, the tort of, quote, wrongful, unquote, or, quote, false, unquote, arrest arises when an individual's liberty has been deprived by another without justification. In this incident, the RCMP member was justified in arresting the claimant. So there you go. For anyone that says photography is not a crime, for anyone that says my eyes can't be trespassed, anyone that says this is a guaranteed fundamental freedom under the Charter of Rights and Freedoms under Section 2B, anyone that says freedom of the press, you're wrong. You're wrong. Look, this is the Attorney General of Canada. You're wrong. If you're not wrong, you might want to call the Attorney General of Canada and tell them yourself. But according to the Attorney General of Canada, as paragraph 19 says, this is justified. The arrest, my arrest, was justified, according to the Attorney General of Canada. So there you go. Photography is a crime. It's an arrestable offense. Let that sink in for a minute, and then type in a comment below and let me know how you feel about that. Speaking of which, let's move on to paragraph 20. The RCMP member had reasonable and probable grounds to arrest the claimant for mischief, which he didn't arrest me for mischief. He arrested me for obstruction. Mischief under the Criminal Code, willful obstruction, interruption, or interference with any person in the lawful use, enjoyment, or operation of property. In light of his filming the secured parking areas of the RCMP detachment where staff parked their personal vehicles. Oh, wait a sec. Is that where the staff parked their vehicles? Let's review, shall we? Let's head back to Google Street View here for some more digital surveillance. And you see here, this is the front of the West Shore RCMP building, and you see the line that I drew here, that long yellow line with the red center. See how it kind of starts at, looks like a mailbox or something there, and on a pole, and then there's a silver minivan, and that line stretches all the way down the street there. See those cars way down at the end there? That's on a public street called Atkins Avenue. And you see the Google cars actually at the very end of that street where there's a turnaround. The street just ends there and there's a turnaround. And that's where the front of the West Shore RCMP detachment is. So that line that I've drawn, that starts there on the grass near that what appears to be a mailbox and stretches all the way down the street there. Here's another view on it. That's actually the staff parking. That's where the staff park their cars for the RCMP. Here's the overhead shot. See the long yellow line there on Atkins Avenue? All those cars parked there? I counted those cars. There's 22 of them there. There's room for more. Probably about 30 cars can park there. And that's where the staff for the West Shore RCMP detachment park their cars, out on a public street. And there's actually signage that state, quote, RCMP employee parking. Permit required. Violators subject to immediate tow. West Shore Towing. And then the phone number for West Shore Towing, unquote. Here's a shot right in front of their building. And here's a shot quite a ways away from their building. You can see that big open space there. That's where, this is actually on a Sunday morning. I snuck in one Sunday morning while I was on my way to a fishing expedition and took these digital surveillance pictures. But that's why there's no cars there. This was on a Sunday morning. But you'll see that this is where the RCMP employees park their vehicles. There's room for about, I'd say, at least 30 vehicles here. So that's how we know that this is where the RCMP employees actually park their personal vehicles, because of all the multiple signs that state that right there. So you see on the upper left corner there, the red X with the white outline? That's where I was standing. You see the light blue oval shape there with the yellow exclamation mark in it? That's where I was standing, and that's what they were concerned with me taking videos and pictures of, was just where those few vehicles are parked there. And pretty much all of those vehicles parked there are either unmarked police vehicles or marked police vehicles. There might be only one, maybe two at the most, personal vehicles that you can actually see while standing there. But if you go to the front of the building on Atkins Avenue, look, there's 22 cars there with room for at least, I don't know, 8 or 10 more. How can this be the response of the Attorney General of Canada to a lawsuit for false arrest? All right, let's finish off paragraph 20. So the RCMP member had reasonable and probable grounds to arrest the claimant on the basis of obstruction. Under section 129 of the Criminal Code, as he would not identify himself. Paragraph 21. In addition, under section 495, subsection 1 of the Code, a peace officer may arrest, without a warrant, a person whom he finds committing an offence, or who, on reasonable grounds, he believes has committed or is about to commit an indictable offence. That's equal to a felony in the United States. Under section 495, subsection 2 of the Code, a peace officer may arrest someone without a warrant if he believes that it is necessary to establish the identity of the person who is believed to have committed an indictable offence. That's, again, equal to a felony in the United States. Both subsections of section 495 apply to the arrest of the claimant by the RCMP member. And then in the remainder of this document, they just say they deny, and they want this thrown out with, they want to be awarded costs. So if you think we have freedom of the press in Canada, you're wrong. If you think photography is not a crime in Canada, you're wrong. Well, according to the Attorney General of Canada anyways. So what do you guys think about photography being a crime in Canada? According to the Attorney General of Canada and their lawyer, Adrienne Copythorne. Pretty neat, huh? So later on, in December of 2019, along comes a new First Amendment auditor, a guy named Man Audits. And think I saw this guy's video shared on like cameras everywhere or something, and I was like, wow, this is cool. Wow, this guy's pretty good. Not big on the mask thing, but I thought to myself, this guy needs a heads up on what's going on out here. And I thought, hey, maybe, my team and I, we can work with this guy, He's pretty well spoken. He could use some improvement, but not a lot. And I was hoping we could sort of add this guy to our team out here on Vancouver Island. But after leaving some comments on his video, I asked him to email me. I said it was very important. I left my email address. He replied. He said, "Why?" That's it. That's all he said. And I replied to that. I said, I can't get into it here. You got to email me. It's very important. And I found out shortly after that, later on that day, that my message was only that reply. My comment was now only visible to myself. And I thought, wow, okay, this guy really doesn't want to communicate with me. Okay. So I decided to make a little short video that day on some of the evidence that was on YouTube about what was going on. I thought, no one's going to believe this if I just tell them. So better document this. So you may be asking, why the hell is Orange Man Audits in this video? He's got nothing to do with it. And no, he doesn't really have anything to do with it, but he does, because this is from a video that he recorded on January 16th, 2020, in where he goes to a RCMP administration building in Victoria, British Columbia. And he states to them over their intercom system that he's going to hang around their parking lot and check out license plates. He then proceeds into their secured parking lot area. This, according to the RCMP, that is a secure parking lot. It's not publicly accessible, according to the RCMP. He is now inside of a secured parking lot for the RCMP. And he goes around and he videotapes every single license plate of every car in there. And then he walks out of there. They didn't stop him. They didn't even ID him. They didn't even approach him. They totally let him do it. So ask yourself, why would they let him get away with this? Why would they use the full force of our criminal justice system to prosecute me for standing on a public sidewalk, taking a video shot of their most photogenic sign on the most publicly viewable area of their building in one of the most busiest intersections in all of the CRD, the Capital Regional District? That's several municipalities. I didn't even attempt to video record or photograph any license plates whatsoever. But this guy goes into their secure area and gets everything and then walks out of there like he's Superman. It's hilarious. I guess some people are allowed to walk into secure parking lots of RCMP buildings and film all their license plates and publish it on the internet. I think he's actually, this was a copy of the original upload from January 2020. I think he's uploaded this like 3 times since. So not only did he publish it, but he's also like re-uploaded it at least 2 or 3 times after the original one. And he's totally they haven't even ID'd him or nothing. It's also interesting too that he even got arrested by the West Shore RCMP out in Langford, and he went to their detachment. And even though they had signs on the doors saying you can't video or audio record in there, he actually went in and he did it, and he published it. And again, they still haven't done anything about it. They haven't. So it's funny because the made up rules apply to me, but the real rules don't apply to him. You'd think if one of us, just one of us, was going to get criminally prosecuted for videotaping and photographing their license plates on personal vehicles in secured areas, you think they might have the wrong guy here. And this is a screenshot of Orange Man Audits himself. This is from a live stream that he was doxing Bruce Dean's address on his live stream. And Mr. Dean made a complaint about that to YouTube, and YouTube deleted the video. but not before Bruce uploaded it himself. So Bruce has a copy, but YouTube deleted Orange Man's upload. Which is funny too, because Orange Man always preaches about how he hates bullies and how he was bullied, but here he is doxing another YouTuber's address on his live stream. So, anyways, remember that trial confirmation hearing that the awesome Judge Brooks scheduled so that we could confirm that I got all my disclosure and all that stuff so that we're ready for trial in March 2020? Well, here we go. It's January 8th, 2020. Come on with me into my pre-trial conference hearing. We've got to make sure that I get all my disclosure. I also want to make an application to have Arun Kundu-Thomsen actually attend this trial in person. They made an application for him to attend via video, which I consented to, but I've now thought that, since he's the most important witness, we're going to have to go through several videos. We're going to have to go through some audio recordings. We're going to have to go through quite a few photographs and documents that he's not privileged to before I confront him with them. So I thought that's going to be really hard, if not impossible, if he's not there in person. So I'm now going to make an application for him. I'm going to explain all that to the judge, and I'm going to say he absolutely has to appear in person in court. Otherwise, it probably just won't work. It won't be a fair trial. He's the arresting officer. It was his idea to seize all my property, which he seized. No one else seized my property, just him. And it was him who put in the warrant to seize my property. He filled out all the paperwork so that my property would be held until the criminal trial was over. He's the one who made up this whole story about all this being mischief and sent all the charges to the prosecutor, which then charge got approved based on the police statements. So that's going to be my application during this hearing. And I'm going to, there's several disclosure issues that have come up. There's some missing disclosure. You may remember from Judge Brooks's order. He ordered my CPIC, and I have not received that. And Judge Brooks also ordered that if there's anything in my CPIC that they weren't going to disclose, they had to tell me what it was and why they weren't disclosing it. So I didn't get that either. So not only did I not get the CPIC, but I never got the what's not being disclosed and why. And then the warrants, I didn't receive anything about warrants. So that means that they didn't put in for any warrants that got rejected. It means they never even bothered to apply for any warrants whatsoever. They seized my gear, and then they applied for a warrant to detain it for almost 2 years. And then that's it. They never applied to search any of the devices to be used as evidence at this criminal trial. And lastly, the security report. Remember, I was arrested because Arun Kundu-Thomsen had to fill out a security report with my name on it and all the other nonsense he said. So I wanted a copy of that security report. And that security report obviously was a lie. It never happened. It was never written up because I never received a copy of it. So I want to make sure that this judge knows all that and that I still need that before my trial. So the hearing starts, the judge comes out, and I'm in shock. It's a judge that I was told that was going to be retiring around sometime in 2018. I already had some problems with this judge, and I've already put this judge on my disqualification list, and they keep scheduling me for court hearings with judges that I have to disqualify, and I keep trying to give them my list. Here's the list. And they're like, no, we can't take a list. So they finally said, okay, fine, give us your list. So I gave him my list. And when I gave him my list, the guy behind the counter said, oh, Judge Higginbotham, he's retiring soon, so he won't be an issue. But here he is in January 2020. Here he is. So I'm a little bit in shock because I've been under the assumption for the last at least year that this guy is out. He's done. He's never to return. And thank God, because this guy is the worst piece of shit that sits on a judge's bench in British Columbia that I've ever seen. His name is Robert A. Higginbotham, and if you ever want to see BC's most dangerous judge in action, he's regularly at the Duncan Law Courts, the Western Communities Courthouse, and the Victoria Law Courts. Here he is, there's his public picture off of his Facebook page. So everyone say, hi, Robert. How you doing? the bully in black, the judge of errors. Now, there's judges that I like, there's judges that I don't like, and then there's this guy. He goes beyond don't like. Won't get into it too much here, but I cannot have this hearing. That's all this argument that I want to make and make an application about, and all the stuff about the disclosure. I can't do it in front of this guy. He's just a jerk. He won't even let me talk. So because I can't have my hearing in front of him, I'm gonna disqualify him. And as soon as the hearing started, they couldn't get the audio to record to get this on the record. Remember what happened last time at the pretrial conference hearing with Judge Brooks, how it was off the record and I can't get it transcribed? Same thing's happening here again. So I insisted. I said, well, let's reschedule because I want this on the record. So they said that they would stand it down and fix it. And so the judge took off back to the back. And I asked for a piece of paper and a pen, and I wrote a disqualification letter. And the audio started working. They called the judge back out. And here is the transcript of that pretrial conference hearing.
Your Honour, calling the matter of Dan.
Judge Higginbotham, long time no see. I am Dan, the accused, and I've got a disqualification letter for you here today. If I could just read it for the record and hand it to you and be on my way.
Is anybody appearing for the...
I'll get Mr. Barber on the phone, Your Honour.
Okay, Barber.
Mr. Barber, this is the Western Communities Courthouse calling. We've just called the matter of Dan, and the Honourable Judge Higginbotham is presiding.
Thank you. Mr. Barber, is it?
Yes, Your Honor. Nicholas Barber for the Crown.
All right. Now this matter is set for 2 days. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor. That's right.
And it is set to commence March 3rd, and then continue April 3rd. Is that correct?
Yes, that's my understanding, Your Honor.
All right. And will the Crown be ready to proceed at that time?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is the estimate still considered to be accurate?
As from the Crown's perspective, it is.
All right. Dan is here. And, Dan, you understand the trial when the trial is proceeding?
Judge Higginbotham, I'm disqualifying you from this proceeding due to your bias in a civil matter between myself and the City of Victoria and Vic PD. You ignored evidence of a police officer misleading Crown Counsel. You also took that opportunity to make self-serving comments inappropriately. Since then, I've read your decision.
Let me interrupt you for a moment.
Trial
Dan,
of April Dawn Smith, where you made serious errors
Dan,
of law.
The matter will proceed.
You're disqualified. Here's your disqualification letter.
The matter will proceed as scheduled. You may leave the courtroom immediately.
Thank you. Have a good day, sir. Your disqualification letter is there.
Thank you, Mr. Barber, if you're still there.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, after I've been kicked out of my own pretrial conference hearing, I go up to the court registry desk and I speak to a justice of the peace whose initials are J.A. I said to her, I got kicked out of my hearing. I didn't even get to have my hearing, thanks to the bully in black. And she says, don't call him a bully. Don't forget where you're standing. And I was like, okay, this is why you don't allow recording in here, obviously. So, somewhat stunned, I told her that I got kicked out of my hearing and I didn't even get to have my hearing, and I disqualified the judge, so I need to reschedule because I need to have this hearing about Arun Kundu-Thomsen having to appear in person as he should be required to. And then I need to go over all of the disclosure that Judge Brooks ordered that I didn't get. So after I got kicked out of this hearing, Bruce and I went downtown Victoria to serve the province. Here's me serving the Solicitor General and Attorney General.
So that's for Attorney General, and that's for Solicitor General.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Have a good day. Thanks, guys.
So now all parties have been served. So I was instructed to email the JCM, that's the Judicial Case Manager at the Western Communities Courthouse, to which I did. Here's the email. And I says, hello. I was instructed to email the Western Communities Courthouse JCM and CC Mr. Barber to reschedule the October 8th pretrial conference hearing. So that's funny because I actually something broke in my brain that day when that judge came out, and I went from January 2020 to October 2020. Yep, my brain skipped a few months ahead into the future because all that day I kept writing that day down as October 2020, even though it was January 2020. It's weird, but it's funny, and I didn't catch it until somewhat recently. Anyways, back to the email. I apologize, the matter could not move forward this morning. Normally I would not disqualify a judge for a simple hearing, but if the judge is Robert, then there's zero chance I would participate in anything before him. My next availability is sometime, at any time. If this time doesn't work, then I'll need to do something that's none of everyone's business. Thank you, Dan. And the Justice of the Peace, the JCM, responded, said, Mr. Dan, I understand from the clerk's notes from yesterday's pretrial conference that the Honorable Judge Higginbotham confirmed the trial dates in March and April 2020. There is no requirement for a further pretrial conference. Thank you, JCM Colwood. Man, I hate doing screen caps on emails. So I says, incorrect. Robert was disqualified from the proceeding. I haven't had my hearing. Tomorrow works. Let me know. Thanks, Dan. And she says, Dear Dan, I have confirmed with the Honorable Judge Higginbotham that the matter was adjourned directly to the trial date of March 3rd, 2020. Thank you. Soy says, that's odd. I guess he is willfully ignoring Judge Brooks's order. Could you mail me a copy of Robert's disqualification notice that I left with the clerk? It should be in the file number this. Thank you, Dan. So that's it. I don't get my hearing. What about Judge Brooks's order for this hearing? He ordered this hearing. I didn't get it. So if I don't get my hearing, that means I can't make my application to have Arun Kundu-Thomsen appear in person so that he'll be able to review the videos and photographs and audio in person, which I'm assuming he can't do over a video conference. And what about my disclosure? What about my CPIC? Didn't get any of that. And Mr. Barber was supposed to tell me what he wasn't going to disclose and the reasons why. And they didn't disclose any other warrants, so that means that they never put in any warrants to search my devices. So that means they just wanted to hold on to my property for 2 years. And no security report. I was arrested because Arun Kundu-Thomsen had to fill out a security report. So didn't get that either. So now I'm going to have to go to trial as an unrepresented accused without the disclosure that Judge Adrian Brooks ordered Nicholas Barber to provide me with, and he has not. So every time I wrote about that day in January where I got kicked out of that hearing, I either called it October 8th, 2020 or October 9th, 2020. It was weird. Something in my brain broke that day. When that judge came out, I was like, uh-oh, I thought this guy retired. Round one, ding, ding, ding. And so the court registry mailed me a copy of the disqualification letter. Here it is. This isn't the actual letter. This is a photocopy of the actual letter. The actual letter is still in that court file today. And it says, as you can see, it says October 9th, 2020. But this is in January 2020. And when I went to read this letter during the pretrial conference in the hearing, the judge, Robert, kept talking over me. So I didn't actually get to read this whole thing. So this is pretty cool because you guys actually get to see the whole letter here. So here goes. Judge Higginbotham, I am disqualifying you from this proceeding due to your previous bias in a civil matter between myself and the City of Victoria and Vic PD. You ignored evidence of a police officer misleading Crown Counsel. You also took that opportunity to make self-serving comments inappropriately. Since then, I've read your decision in the trial of April Dawn Smith, in where you made serious errors in law, which leads me to believe you're not a trustworthy judge. And in brackets it says, you should watch Judge Adrian Brooks and take notes on how to be a good judge. And I signed it, and then I again put the wrong date. It's January 2020. I put October 9th, 2020. So this judge had the opportunity to either hear my disqualification and decide whether to recuse himself or not. And he just decided to ignore me, talk over me. This is what he does. This is why I wanted to disqualify him. It's because he doesn't let me talk. If you can't talk, imagine going to court for something and the judge doesn't let you talk. That's what this guy does. That's why he's the bully in black. That's why he's BC's most dangerous judge. Robert, the judge of errors. That lady's name that I brought up, I actually got her first name wrong. It's funny, I got her middle and last name right. But her first name is Tracy, not April. So Tracy Dawn Smith was an interesting case where this judge, Robert, made some serious errors in law. And I'll leave this, if you want to read this, just pause it and read it. But the Court of Appeal gave him a good roast at the end of their decision to reverse his sentencing on this matter. Yeah, that's the judge of errors for you. Here he is clogging up the courts of appeal. So now, over the last few years, I've learned not to make complaints about government agencies because in British Columbia, where I live, we don't do accountability. You make a complaint and it's laughed at and tossed. So I've learned just not to even bother make complaints anymore. They're just a waste of time. They never go anywhere. Even if you do win a complaint, nothing actually happens, Somebody gets told not to do that again. So anyways, I thought, well, I should probably make a complaint about this judge because, this is unacceptable, right? Is this acceptable to you? Is this how you want a judge to treat you and your family when you show up to court and cooperate with the process? So even though I didn't want to do it, I did it. I made a complaint. And one thing you can't complain about is the judge's decision because they leave that up to appeal. If you are complaining about a decision that a judge made, they just toss it. So it has to be about conduct, and that was what I made my complaint about, was his conduct. That things like he was ignoring my disqualification, like he didn't even address it, and he spoke over me while I'm reading the disqualification letter, and then I didn't even get to have my hearing. He just kicked me out. He didn't even consider anything. It's up to him to consider what to do about the issues that are arising at the time. It's not up to him to kick people out. He still has to do his job. I still have to have my hearing. It was ordered by the previous judge. And sometime after submitting my complaint, I got a response from the Office of the Chief Judge of the Province of British Columbia. You can pause this and read this if you like. Unfortunately, I didn't make a copy of the complaint that I made, but they're responding to my complaint, so you get the gist of it from that. And this is where it gets interesting, where it seems like they're actually going to accept my complaint. It says here, your complaint also states circumstances which, if established, may raise an issue of judicial misconduct within the Chief Judge's authority under the Provincial Court Act. Specifically, you assert that Judge Higginbotham ignored your disqualification without even addressing it. So that's potential misconduct. Next one. When you started to read the letter notice to get it on the record, and very shortly after you started speaking, Judge Higginbotham spoke over you to the point that you could not understand what each other was saying. That's potential misconduct. Third one. When you stopped short on reading your letter notice, Judge Higginbotham instructed you to, quote, leave the court immediately, unquote. So that's potential misconduct. And they say that they're going to examine this a little further and get back to me. And this is the response from Associate Chief Judge Paul Dome. Just skip down to the second paragraph here. He says, your March 2nd, 2020 correspondence asserts that you started to read the letter notice of disqualification to get it on the record, and very shortly after you started speaking, Judge Higginbotham began to speak over you, to the point that you could not understand what each other were saying. To better understand your assertions, the audio recording of your appearance has been reviewed. Review of the audio recording indicates that there were points at which both you and the judge were speaking. A judge presiding over a proceeding, however, has significant discretion in the management of the case, and this would include asserting firm control over a proceeding to maintain an atmosphere of order in the courtroom. You also stated in your letter that when you stopped short on reading your letter notice, Judge Higginbotham instructed you to leave the courtroom immediately. It is important for presiding judges to maintain a level of serenity and calm. Review of the audio recording confirms that while the judge did demonstrate calmness and an even tone throughout the hearing, the following exchange did take place. The court, speaking over the accused. Let me interrupt you for a minute, Dan. Dan, the matter will proceed as scheduled. You may leave the courtroom immediately. Dan. Thank you. Have a good day, sir. Your disqualification letter is there. The Canadian Judicial Council's Ethical Principles for Judges states, quote, judges should avoid comments, expressions, gestures, or behavior which reasonably may be interpreted as showing insensitivity to or disrespect for anyone, unquote. In hindsight, there are other ways the judge may have phrased this that may have been more respectful. So in other words, who cares? You further indicate that the judge did not address your application that he recuse himself from hearing the matter. A judge's decision on that type of submission may be the subject of an appeal to or review by a higher court, as the chief judge has no authority to intervene with respect to such a decision. Ignoring a submission, however, may become a conduct issue which engages the supervisory jurisdiction of the chief judge. While a presiding judge can choose not to address clearly irrelevant comments, the audio recording indicates that the judge did not give you an opportunity to present your submission, nor did he indicate his decision, or whether the matter was not relevant, so submissions need not be heard. While I believe that Judge Higginbotham will take some guidance from examination of this incident, a review of the audio from the proceedings in total leads to my conclusion that, beyond receipt by Judge Higginbotham of a copy of this letter, further examination of this complaint is not warranted. As an experienced judge, Judge Higginbotham will see this case as a helpful reminder of the details to which judges aspire, and how a judge's actions at a hearing may be perceived by litigants. Further, we are informing you that Judge Higginbotham will not be presiding further on this file. And that's from Paul Dome, the Associate Chief Judge. So, according to Associate Chief Judge, some of the things that Robert did were definitely wrong. But that's okay, because Robert is going to police himself. He's going to judge himself. He's probably retired already, is probably what's going on here. And he was so close to retirement, they didn't want to hit him up with the legit conduct complaint that they had to discipline him for right before he retires as a senior judge. So I guess that's it. I guess I'm off to my trial without my disclosure that was ordered by Judge Adrian Brooks. Thanks to Robert losing his patience and throwing me out of a courtroom before I could even have my hearing. Hopefully this doesn't affect my trial, as when my trial starts, I'll have been waiting 17 months since we first set a trial date back in December 2019. Remember, I was arrested July 25th, 2018. So we're getting pretty close to 2 years here. So do me a favor, when you lay your head down tonight, pray that Robert has retired and he's no longer bullying self-represented accused people that show up to court and cooperate with the process, and they have to deal with BC's most dangerous judge, the judge of errors, the bully in black, Robert, the sovereign citizen judge. It's okay. He can throw people out of a courtroom, and doesn't matter what you complain about him, because he's gonna police himself. Robert's not subject to the rules, even though he breaks them. You'd think judges would be held to a higher standard, but clearly they're not. So you're probably thinking to yourself, it can't get any worse than this, right? So this is where it all starts to really go bad, like really bad. Like it's always been bad, and it's gotten worse as it goes along, but this is where it really starts to, our justice system is really starting to show its true colors now, isn't it? Well, I got good and bad news for you. It's not over yet. Believe it or not, it actually gets worse than this. So stay tuned for part 20. It's the first day of my criminal trial. Thanks for watching.